It's Ruben from TG, and in today's video, I want to go over a couple things. One, year-to-date performance, wins that are within the community, long-term, and then also I want to talk about long-term option trading strategy that we use inside our private Telegram group. Um, and if you see me kind of looking around, it's because I'm actually managing a trade as we speak. And so I want to break down a couple of trades that we're in for the long term and how you could do as well too, because this is how we actually make a lot of our money, just kind of swing trading anywhere from 8 to plus year option trades. And we kind of try to capture a lot of the dollar movement of a stock. But let's start with the year-to-date performance. So as of right now, just screenshotted this thing. I'm up about 55.32% on the year-to-date. I think I mentioned before, if I haven't, that I'm going to be sizing down a lot because I pretty much finished for the year. I try to aim around anywhere from 35 to 50%. So being this high, it's just a cherry on top at this point, to be honest. Especially when you're trading a six-figure account, you're making some meaningful income here. Okay, now let's go to the wins real quick. So for the wins, and actually Zeta is going to be a great example here because we won on Zeta with an 8% ROI on the stock, a 73% option on the call option. But this was Kevin's win. He did way better than I did. Rodney did the same thing. He just crushed it with Zeta. For me, it was about an 8% ROI on the shares and a 20% on the call option, which actually he like crushed it. Good for him. But I'm going to explain to you how we look about going into a long-term option so you could do the same thing. You can make essentially a lot of money off of it with almost like little to no stress. Okay. So I'm not going to get into like the shares aspect because that's the same principles apply, but I'm going to talk about how do you do this with the option. Okay. And so so when we're first looking for an opportunity, one thing that I always teach all my students here, and that I'll do for them as well too, is that you have to kind of understand the company's EPS growth, and it's something that gets overlooked a lot of the time. So EPS is earnings per share, and what that pretty much indicates is EPS equals earnings per share, right? And what this pretty much tells you is like, is the stock growing in revenue or is it not, right? If there's growth, then the stock will go up. If EPS goes higher into what we call forward guidance, right? That's what it's called. Then it goes up. Chart goes up. If EPS stays stale or goes down, then the chart goes down. Okay. Because this is the base fundamental of any stock. Anybody that gets into buying the equity, it's like you're always trying to project the forward price. Like, is it going to be worth more because of their EPS? And one way to check this out, you can either check this on TradingView, but I like using the TradingView one, or you can use the NASDAQ website. Let me see. Let me show you an example here of SMCI because this is a leap option that we're in. And so you can go to the NASDAQ website, search the SMCI, scroll down a little bit. You're going to see a little earnings tab. You click on that. Let me pop my face back in here. And if you scroll down on this page, you'll be able to see what their forward guidance is, what their projected growth is. So we already got rid of their worst quarter last quarter, right? You see how their projection was to go down, and now it's just going up, right? So Q2, Q3, a little bit higher in Q4, and then it's going to come back down around January of next year, right? Of next year. So what we try to do with the leap options is really simple. We want to try and capture as much of the. Let me actually like take a screenshot of this. We want to capture as much of this as possible. Okay, and to be able to do that, that's why we get either we typically get leap options or shares most of the time, because we want to capture this growth, we want to capture this growth and this growth. But this is on a quarterly basis, right? Quarter means 3 months, so 3 months here, 6 months, 9 months. So we need something that is about a year out, so I can be able to capture this entire movement, as much of it as possible. Okay. And so but that's the base fundamental. It's like, is the company going to grow or not from here on out? And the matter of the fact is, it is, right? There's four components. There's about four components to ER components is what I call them. So one is of course, is like EPS, right? EPS, but it comes down to, is it going to be quarter over quarter, and is it going to be year over year? Be year over year. Okay, these are the main thing. And then after that, you have the same applies to revenue. Okay, and then we have another one here called forward guidance, which is the one that we can't really like figure out until they tell us after their ER, right? Um, okay, so when we take a look at this, I say, okay, is it going to be quarter over quarter? Let's use a different color here. Let's use green. Yeah, it's gonna be quarter over quarter, but it won't. Will it be year over year? No, it's not. It's way less. So it doesn't mean it can't go up. It just means that it might not go as up as high as it was around this previous time. Okay, which is perfectly fine. But if we go back to the Nasdaq website, I like to also look at the yearly earnings forecast, because this is based off of a whole year, right? The forward guidance is always based off of like future year projections, so a year out. So you can see here that it should be growing. SMCI is predicted to grow, right? So 1.72, 2.05, 2.49. So I know that this stock is going to be growing over the upcoming years, right? Um, but for the short term, it's just getting it's if as long as everything remains the same, it's just getting started, right? Okay. So going back to that, now that we know that, or at least now that I know that, and you know that, so we say, so first checklist, right? It's all about checklists at the end of it. Checklist. Is EPS growing? If yes, awesome. Go to the next step, right? Check EPS. EPS growth. Okay. So the next thing that I like to check also is just basic market structure. Market structure. This is really simple. Like, and I like to look at this on the. Let's take a look at SMCI here on the monthly time frame. So is it bullish, right? You could tell, like, if we just scrolled over to the monthly time frame, it is bullish, right? It went up, down. Now it's going back up. So in theory, it's making its expansion to the next higher high, right? That's essentially what it's trying to tell you here, right? Doesn't mean it will, but that's why we look at EPS growth to see if those future catalysts is going to push the price of the stock up higher, essentially. And you can always take a look at here on TradingView, how they performed in previous quarters. So you can see from January of 2024 all the way to April, their highest was about $122, and they only performed here at a 55 EPS, right? So if we know that their forward projection here is going to be going close to that EPS, then I can kind of predict that, okay, we may not hit the all-time highs, right? Because the all-time highs here say 0.05 on their projected estimate, but it should be somewhere near it, right? Like maybe around $80, $100, somewhere around that price range. So I want to capture that entire move from where we're currently at. And I've been trading this stock. If you follow any of the other videos in the past, I've been calling out SMCI, SANS, $45. I've been saying there's some key levels, but we need to break it to see higher. But we have the catalyst, right? All right. So now that we know, we checked that. We said, okay, market structure looks good. What's the next thing you want to check? Well, the next thing I like to check is, of course, Gextron levels. Like I have to figure out, is this prime? Because Gextron essentially is going to let me know when it's ready for me to jump in or not, right? Like if it's not on a bullish zone, if it's not call dominated, I don't want to get in yet. Okay, and it's really really simple with Gextron. I know it looks noisy, and this is the pro dashboard, but it really comes into play. Comes into play when we're doing this. So, okay, so the first thing I need to figure out is like where does the bullish sentiment begin, right? And so bullish sentiment starts here at 53. And the reason I say 53 here is because I'm going to take a screenshot of this as well too. The reason I say 53 is because it's the first positive bar and the next one. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4 are bullish positive bars, right? So this to me, 53 is P trans. And so what I do in my chart, in my trading view, if I go down to the daily time frame, I think we're up about 200, almost $300 on each contract because we're on leap options for next June. So I have to update these lines. These are old lines, but P-Trans was way below, all the way back down to 45. That's why I was calling 45. And I saw the market structure. I saw the growth in the EPS. So I was like, okay, this could be potentially bottoming out. And this could be the catalyst to the next expansion to at least get close to all-time highs. So I got to delete this line. I got to delete this line. I'm going to say 53. I'm going to push this one up to 53. So that's P-Trans. That tells me that this is the beginning of bullish sentiment. Okay. And now the thing about these key levels is that they're not like your average key levels. Gextron is dynamic. As you can see, I'm grabbing every single order that's coming in, even if the order is $93 of premium. And Gextron is grabbing all that, computing it together, and giving you dynamic levels based on the data that's coming in. So it's never stale. It's always dynamic. It's always fresh. If the only time I change my thesis is when the data is changing as well too. Okay. Um, Now with that said, I have to continue marking these other tall bars, whether they're negative or positive. But tall bars just represent potential resistance areas. The bigger the bar, the bigger the resistance. So in this case, it's 55, and then we have 60. Okay, so I got to mark that level. We have 60 here. I think I deleted 55. So 55. And 55 is what we call, it's the tallest bar, and we call it max reward, as in like, it's typically doesn't mean it can struggle here, and it did struggle here for a while, I believe, right? It was around the zone right here, and it struggled. But as soon as it gets above it, it becomes easier. It could become a level of support now, and a bigger level of support, which would be good. In this case, we have a pretty nice clear shot to 60, and it looks like we're going to hit 60 today as well too. All right, with that said, now that I checked all the Gextron levels, okay, we also essentially want to figure out like, um, are we above P trans? Okay, now the next thing comes into play, like um, option selection. Let me see if the trading view has a pretty decent option view. I know they have options here available. When it comes to like selecting the expiration, it's really, really simple. Like if I think, I don't like to overthink it a lot. If I think this is going to be because I'm looking at this as such a macro level, quarterly level, it's just easy to get 365 days or above, right? That's just the easiest thing for selection. If I think it's going to take about 6 months, anywhere from 4 to 6 months, I'm just going to try and double the amount of expiration so I can give myself enough time for this thing to play out as intended. So where's the option chain here? Did they get rid of the options here? Here we go. More options. Okay, so what I chose was June here. And the next thing I picked, the contract I picked was 70. Now, the reason I picked 70, can I just do this by calls? Gamma, give me Vega. I wish I could just filter by calls. That would have been great. Okay, the reason I picked 70 here are calls. The reason I picked 70 at the time is because this was actually about a 48 delta. Let me see, it was 45 when we got in. So one or somewhere around this level, 1, 2. So probably was probably about a 45 delta, and the gamma was just getting ready. You see how it's a 10, right? 10 or 0.01, 0.01, 0.01, 0.01. I'm trying to, when I'm picking a strike selection, it's about picking a contract that has enough juice, right? As is go gamma is like the gas pedal to delta, right? Delta's already high enough as it is. It was about a 45 when I got in, right? And now we're at a 53. So every time, as long as the gamma is really high, the delta is going to be increasing faster and faster per dollar movement, which means we make more money as this security continues to move up, right? It's really that simple. It's like picking selection. So expiration, just double if looking at monthly. All right, here, actually, just get a leap. Let me make it simpler. Get a leap for monthly macro view. Okay, strike. To make it really simple, just pick a 38 delta. Do yourself a favor. Typically 38 to 45. Okay. But essentially, the reason I say 38 to 45 is because this is where gamma starts to really ramp up. And the ramp up on gamma is where you make a lot of your money and the fastest. If you're like, think of it like a V engine, right? If your gamma level is way too low, and the stock is moving, it's like you're barely pressing on the gas pedal. Like you're not gonna make a whole lot of money. But there, and if you pick a contract that's at the money or in the money, that speed is already maxed out, and maybe you'll run out of gas and then it starts to slow down, right? Think of it that way. So what you want is that ramp up speed, right? Just as it's about to rip off onto the street or whatever, right? Okay. That's pretty much it, right? So if we go back to our strategy here, how to pick long-term option strategy, this is the checklist that you wanted to figure out. Is the EPS growing? Is the market is market structure bullish? Check on the monthly time frame here. Let's say M time frame. I think it's 1M. 1M for monthly. Check the Gextron levels, or just check any levels that is based off of the option premiums, like off the Greeks. Okay, don't look at static data because the market doesn't care about what happened last year or a month from now. None of that. Okay, it's always about forward looking. Um, okay, and yeah, check Gextron if you can get Gextron better. Option selection. When it comes to select, once all these three items clear off, and again, growth is dependent on this. EPS should be beating quarter over quarter. It should be bottoming out right here, just like we saw here, and seeing growth. You want to capture the growth of this EPS revenue as well. Forward guidance is the only thing that you don't know what's going to happen. And that's what happened with Enphase. They did very well, but they tanked. Enphase ended up falling because they projected lower on their growth, on their forward guidance. That's why it's continued to fall. Okay. So that's the only thing that we don't know, right? But you can't be afraid because of that. If you see the opportunity, take the opportunity. And the only way to win this is to size in accordingly. Okay. So don't over leverage on these contracts just because you believe. And just be logical about this. Option selection, because we're looking for a quarterly base, just get something that's a leap contract, very, very simple, and strike selection anywhere from 0.38 to 0.45 delta, okay? Because that's where the ramp up starts to begin. Use Gextron levels to figure out when is the time entry levels. Above P-trends just means that it's just getting into a bullish sentiment zone, and then you could just take that for some more upside. Cool. That's it for this video. If you have any questions on this, drop them down below. I think I did want to do a segment where I did have YouTube comments. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. 1 second. Okay. So I did have a comment from Santana D6. This strategy is a real gem for trading QQ. No joke. Going to try it on FBS and see if I can finally break my bad luck streak with it. This was on the support and resistance day trading strategy. Yeah, we traded zero DTE, and we just used Gacktron to pretty much give us the levels and targets. Awesome. Yeah, and if you have any questions, just drop them down below, and I will put them in the next video. And if you want to trade with me and my team, I'll put a couple links in the description box. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.